Wow, the new box set, finally.
I know, it's taken a long time to get this together, isn't it?
It's taken a long time, but I must say that Demon have done a bloody good job, Martyn.
Bloody good.
Bloody good job.
Yeah, it's working out quite well, and quite a lot of this stuff has not been available for a while, isn't it?
No, and I even delved into my mum's scrapbooks, and there's quite a lot of stuff that I didn't even know existed. Like there's stuff in there. I think there's I don't think it's in its entirety, but there's lyrics, the original kind of lyrics, handwritten lyrics for Fascist Groove Thing, a couple of other songs. My favourite thing that I found on the back of the lyrics to, I think it was Let's All Make a Bomb, is an order for a curry, which is really
which is
nice.
a reward to ourselves.
Yes.
For particularly good lyric writing.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
We used to have a system where, this was in the studio that we had with the, that we wrote Penthouse and Pavement in, and the Human League wrote Dare in. It was the only kind of asset that you'd got after the split, wasn't it really? And nobody really wanted to give it up. So we decided to both use it. So we worked the night shift from 10 at night till 10 in the morning, and the Human League worked from 10 in the morning till 10 at night writing Dare. And there was this big old-fashioned desk and totally unautomated. And we would all be at the mix. You'd all have certain things to do as the mix was going down to be mastered to quarter inch. And if you made a mistake, you got a black mark against you. And if you got 5 black marks, you had to pay for the curry. And so that's where the curry order was, obviously, during coming out of Let's All Make a Bomb. I can't remember who paid for it though.
I can't either.
Must have been Ian. He's not here.
Yeah. We'll blame it on him.
Yeah. It's quite a nice experience, I think. I find it interesting because I don't have any kind of memorabilia, or I don't even have any CDs or any music that we've done, or I don't keep anything.
No memories?
I don't actually have anything. I live in an empty white box. So suddenly when these things come up, I kind of get quite involved and I enjoy it very much. And I found, these fine pictures and photographs, just memories, even bits of music that you've kind of forgotten existed.
I think you're a secret nostalgist, even though you claim not to keep anything. I think you're actually afeared of being overwhelmed by your love of nostalgia. Whereas I actually keep...
On the sofa with Martyn Ware.
I keep a lot of stuff and always have done. I mean, I've got the original artwork for all the albums. And I've not kept so much of the documentation, but I've got a lot of stuff, the cassettes. And
yeah, but that's because your memory's so terrible.
That's why I'm saying that you're the opposite, you see. You're a real old-fashioned...
You love that word.
Nostalgist. In
but
secret.
It's all in
but
here,
it's stealth. It's in there.
I don't need it.
I don't have it in there. I have it outside.
Yeah.
So we complement each other in that respect. The idea we had when we started Heaven 17 was to ensure that it had a longevity, the stuff that we created. We actually stated it as an intention, did we not?
We did, yeah.
But the funny thing is, we used to say, we want things to be timeless, is the word that we used, if we can. Sounds a bit arrogant, but that's what we were aiming at. And we said, we want people to still be listening to this in 10 years' time.
Yeah.
That's honestly what we said.
The idea of timeless at that point was...
We couldn't comprehend being in our mid-30s because to us, that was, you might as well have been a granddad. Or we might not even be around. We were living the high life at that time, definitely. So, and look, here we are now. Double that age.
Go on, finish what you're saying.
No, I was just saying that the idea that people still enjoy and find resonances conceptually in what we did then, now, particularly lyrically and politically, and actually the songs still hold up. They have a certain quality which works for every generation. We have quite a lot of young people coming to our gigs as well. So it's not the case for a lot of artists from that period, and so I personally, and I think you do too, feel quite proud about that.
Yeah, definitely. I think another point when I look back on and what we've done when you do these box sets, and this one, you know, with it being vinyl and big, and the book that comes with it is really, we've gone further in on this one than we have ever on any other kind of reissue. We really, really have. And what I think is what a fucking great time we had. Do you know what I mean? I look back and I think, God, that was amazing. That was such good fun. And you kind of see photographs and you remember, oh yeah, that was in Italy, we did that. And and Martyn threw the TV in a swimming pool. And, you know, just kind of daft memories. But we did have a really good time, and it was important to us to do that as well. Because we always knew that it was not to be wasted, that what we were doing was important musically, but for us as well, we were really lucky to be in that position, and we mustn't kind of get inward looking and grumpy. We've always enjoyed it.
Yeah, and also the other thing was there was the whole BEF thing, which gave it a lot of kind of depth to what we were doing. So we always had other things going on at the same time, and we wanted it to feel like it was a kind of, you know, like they talk about the Marvel universe. This is like, in a tiny way, like the Heaven 17 universe or BEF universe we were creating. And that depth, I think, lends itself to a re-examination later. And I think people will buy this box set, and I think it's
a little treasure, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a treasure. It's a treasure trove of memories, but also maybe even like a blueprint for the way that artists could conceptualize their own work. When the Humour League split up, it was a bit of a shock, obviously. So the idea was to come up with a new way of working for myself and Ian in the studio. And to Bob Last's credit, who was managing both Heaven 17 and the Humour League when the split happened, it was his suggestion. He said, "Why have you thought about making a production company?" I'm going, "Oh, that's interesting." I said, "I want to call it," and he, of course, ran with the idea immediately. "I want to call it something. I want to make it sound like it's always existed. Like British Electric Foundation was the end of a process. We went through all sorts of things. So it's got to have the word British in it because it sounds official. This is pre-Brexit, of course. It's great to have British next to Electric because it sounds like some kind of utility company. But I wanted to call it corporation because it sounded like really official. And we asked our lawyers and they said, no, can't do that. So we ended up with foundation, which sounds like a semi-educational thing or a philanthropic thing. And the idea was we signed to Virgin as a production unit that was entitled to present Virgin with up to 6 different acts a year with different lead singers and identities, and they would finance it. And I mean, it's ludicrous. It was like clicking your fingers and going, "Oh, we'll just make a Motown. Okay, we're starting Motown now." It was like a weird concept. And in fact,
the basic idea was that we would start Heaven 17. You and Ian would start Heaven 17. I was the singer of Heaven 17, and then that would kind of almost take off on its own and become Heaven 17. And then those two stayed backstage and did the next one. But because we'd been friends for so long, since kind of 14 years old, and we had such a good time with Heaven 17, it kind of we all just moved together with Heaven 17, didn't we? And then Heaven 17 the BEF became more of a kind of production manifesto type
for
you, really.
Ironically, if you fast forward a few years, something like PWL, it would have been a more realistic model for doing it because they were kind of behind the scenes, and they just had solo singers. But we didn't want to do solo singers. It was like band identities because we had so many ideas for those things. Anyway, so that's we did release a BEF album, Music of Quality and Distinction Volume 1, which in itself kind of implies there's going to be more than one volume. That was the idea, and that kind of launched our production. Well, it was meant to be our production career. I asked Glenn, if you remember at that time, if you wanted to join me.
You did ask me, yeah.
And he said he couldn't be bothered. And
I did say that, yeah.
And
I might not have used exactly those can't be bothered words.
No, he did.
Oh,
and,
okay.
And then Ian said, and then after about 18 months, Ian backed away. So it ended up just being me, to be honest. And I bet Ian regrets that, because just after that, I got to work with Tina Turner, which was massively successful, obviously.
Yeah. Do you know what? I'm not sure it's in the booklet, but I've got a vague memory. It's only just come back to me with you talking about different bands. But I think in that little treasure trove scrapbook of lyrics and things, there's a list of names.
Yes.
And M17's on the list. And there's Goggly Gog Oil.
And
the
Monolith.
And the Word Masters. And there's another couple as well, and they were all kind of names of bands that were going to be kind of formed, but only M17 ever managed it.
Yeah,
I'm glad we weren't called Goggly Gog Oil though.
Penthouse and Pavement was Ian Marsh's idea. I said I really liked this title, and he had also, I can't remember if it was exactly the same time, but he said, I've had an idea for the cover, and he brought in this advert from Newsweek, which was a Toshiba advert, which was a very bland corporate thing, boasting about how all their technology and their contacts were basically dominating the world, and we just loved this kind of bland corporate thing. And actually the montage style was so Penthouse and Pavement was stolen directly from that, wasn't it?
Yeah, the kind of montage of the businessmen around different parts of the world, and then the logo Sheffield, Edinburgh, London was nicked from
Chanel bottle or something.
I think it was Dunhill cigarettes.
Yeah, Dunhill cigarettes.
That said something like London, Paris, New York, or something like that. And the byline opening doors
all over the world
was from somewhere else as well. We just kind of mishmashed all these things. And Penthouse and Pavement, it didn't come fully formed. I mean, the idea of it. Apart from that, the title, we'd got that and we knew that, but not the song. But it was just all those songs that were written for Penthouse and Pavement were written in a kind of cauldron of excitement and
resentment
and perhaps resentment on but the Human League had just split, and there was a real need, from you and Ian and from Phil and Adrian, that both wanted to prove what was going to come next was the right thing and the bigger thing, and they were the right ones. So all that, it was run so quickly. I mean, I came back, I'd been living in London for a bit, taking photographs of bands, and I came back to Sheffield and I met Martyn, coincidentally, on the day that they'd had that meeting, and Martyn had been chucked out of his own band. And we got drunk, and he said, why don't you come back to Sheffield and we'll start something new. So I said, okay, and that was Friday. And I came back on Monday, and by the following Friday, we'd completely written Fascist Groove Thing, like 5 days, and the whole of the rest of the album kind of followed in that style. So although it wasn't fully formed, it was a kind of rush of avalanche of ideas that came out.
We did have a starting point, which was before the split. Myself and Ian had already written a swathe of backing tracks, which were going to turn into Human League songs, and 5 of those turned into. Was it 5? Yeah, 5 of those turned into the Pavement.
I never know which.
Pavement, the second side, anyway.
The more electronic.
Electronic side. So we wrote new top lines over that, and the original idea. I only thought about this the other day. The original idea was that there was going to be, like the transitional bit, so that it would make more sense to have that on the first side of the album, and then the second side was going to be the new direction. But as soon as we started working on the new direction, it was clear that sounded more shocking and more exciting. So we decided to switch that round. So and actually it sounds kind of more Penthousey in a way.
I mean, it was that first song, Fascist Groove Thing, that really was the kind of template that we were looking for, wasn't it? We were really lucky to kind of just fucking land right there. And again, I remember you saying we'd got the backing track, which was it's really electronic, and it's done on the System 100, and it was just very, very electronic. And we'd got the, have you heard it on the news about, and I'd done the vocal. And then Martyn said, we should have a bass guitar solo in the middle. I went, what? It's like, you fucking mad.
It was a bit out of the blue, I must say.
And we didn't.
But that was the light bulb moment where we went.
Yeah.
Where we went. Everything's on the table. There's nothing to stop us anymore. We didn't have this very strict manifesto where synthesizers only, which we had with the Human League. So we said, why not? Let's have a go.
Yeah, and so we found John Wilson, the young bass player, and that was it. So, that was then the new template for Heaven 17. So.
We said with Virgin, and in fact this was the case with the Human League as well. We said, you may not be paying us the biggest amounts of money, but we absolutely 100% from the outset, because if you let somebody get a foot in the door, they'll exploit it. We said we have to have an understanding that we control the creative process, that we don't want. Not only do we not want any interference from the A&R department, you're not even going to be able to hear anything while it's in process. We will present you with the finished product.
Including artwork, which is very important to us. We emerged from this kind of post-punk fanzine thing where we wanted to control every aspect of production. So we had final approval on everything from posters to record to record covers to everything, you name it, we had it. And they at that time, to their credit, they said, sure, we're not bothered, yeah, why not? Yeah, they were 100% behind us actually, weren't they? To be honest, we never had any kind of interference or upset. The only slight time ever there was any kind of slight interference was when we wanted to release Temptation as the first single from the Luxury Gap, and they didn't really like that song very much, and we were like,
Idiots,
you mad, just get it out. And then they sent it away to America to be remixed, and it came back and it was just dreadful and flat. And
it was Kirschenbaum, wasn't it? That guy who did Joe Jackson.
Yeah, and we just said no, just put this one out. Honestly, trust us.
And the reason why is because they didn't have Carol Kenyon under contract. That's basically it. That was the real reason.
But anyway, that's the only time that there was ever Kenny, and they backed down very quickly and easily. I think the sense that we were doing the right thing came just by the amount of people that really loved that album, Penthouse and Pavement, and I was, you kind of. I mean, it's slightly. I would feel different if it were now, but then we were going out a lot, and you're going to lots of clubs and lots of parties, and everywhere you went, you heard Penthouse and Pavement, and quite often they'd play the whole album as well. And you'd be like, "Wow, this is weird."
It was being played without kind of us urging people to play it. It caught fire, but it caught fire slowly. Actually, that's a great title for a book.
Never mind that.
Catching fire slowly. I like that. Just remember that one.
I think you got it on
yeah, okay, good. You saw the moment. But the point is, a lot of what we've done in our career has been kind of successful, but in a slower burn kind of way. So, for instance, Penthouse and Pavement was in the, I think I'm right in saying, was in the top 40 albums for like 75 weeks or something. So it sold quite a lot over a period of time. It didn't have that kind of big explosive thing, which is what they're looking for, but it was credible.
Yeah, it was quite nice. I mean, in a way, I think for me, I would have preferred. I'm quite happy the way it grew. I would rather it did that than Groove Thing had been a massive big hit, and then we'd have been like chasing that for the rest of our career.
And the other thing is, it was doing really well in other territories as well. So I was just talking about the UK there, but it was catching fire in other territories, and the word was spreading that this is something really new. And in fact, if you ever hear people on the internet or whatever, or famous bands often refer to Penthouse and Pavement from that who were around at that period. I mean, like Red Hot Chili Peppers have done Fascist Groove Thang Live, for instance, and several other bands, even people like Nine Inch Nails and stuff, have been are on record of having said that album was really something that changed, that really flipped my perception of what was possible with electronic music and funk. So it was more important artistically than sales-wise, whereas, you know, moving on to the second album, to their eternal credit, Virgin gave us a blank check, basically, to make Luxury Gap.
To their eternal credit and our eternal debt.
Yeah. Well, we paid it off about 10 years ago, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, Let Me Go was...
We still think it's the best
As
song
always.
from that album.
Yeah,
to be
me
honest.
too. That's what. In fact, it's my and his. I know it is favourite M17 song. It's the most complete, perfect M17 song. I think. Let Me Go. We were slightly upset that it didn't do better, and I think Virgin, more to the point, were gobsmacked that it didn't do better.
It was something. I don't think we ever got on top of the pops with it. That was the big problem.
Yeah, I don't know.
And the weird thing is that Let Me Go was our most successful song in America, and in a lot of other territories as well. So if you go to, say, Italy or Spain, they know us for Let Me Go. That's our big hit there, more than Temptation. So weird, isn't it, how things work out?
Temptation was never released in America as a single. Never even got released, did it?
I don't know about that.
No, it didn't.
Okay. There's bigger parties.
Yeah, just more money to spend on your friends, really, and having fun.
Yeah.
I mean, we just generally just enjoyed ourselves. I think we had a decade of...
Lotus eating.
Yes. And it was just really good fun, and we kind of... A lot of our friends didn't have as much money, and so for 10 years, I think, we just kind of took everybody with us.
It was almost like a de facto kind of commune, wasn't it? Really,
Yeah.
Except we all lived in different places. I mean, yeah, we had a lot of laughs, and creatively, we just thought, as often people do in these situations, they just think it's not going to end. You know, you think it gives you a lot of confidence, which can turn into arrogance if you're not careful. So we were always very careful to stay a little bit out of the limelight. I'm right in saying?
Oh yeah, I think quite a lot out of the limelight, really.
Whereas a lot of people get really, they love the idea of being the centre of attention all the time. We just saw it as a bit of a curse. So we were more interested in the creativity part of it, and so we were super intent on driving the agenda forward, because we really believe that Luxury Gap is an incredible piece of work. I still do, actually.
The putting together that album, the mixing of it and the recording of it it's pretty intense and massive, you know, orchestrally and electronically, and just the amount of gear in the
oh my God, we
in the
spent
room.
an absolute fortune on that album. It's unbelievable.